Hi, I'm Rob. Make it better. That's what I do. I'd like to bring awareness to MECFF. Some people could call it long COVID nowadays because COVID is popular and people believe for some reason that what they have is different. And everybody who had, a viral infection also 25 years ago, like I did, you know, doesn't have the same shit. They do. And I'd like to bring some awareness of it, what it means. It's a quality of life illness. Um, I mean, if you have a hobby, something you do in your spare time, and maybe go for a walk, hike, play with kids, go into the garage, fixing a car, whatever it might be. All those things that you take for granted today, you can't do anymore. What are you going to do now? Well, you want to go out. You want to go out with your buddies and watching sports or such, but you can't anymore. And we have a lot of common with this illness, with gravity actually. One of the funny things with gravity is that you can't really ask a scientist or anyone else that, what is gravity? And they go, well, you can't find the graviton. Can't find it. And if you look at the astronauts, they have a lot of common with us too. I mean, if you look at the astronauts being up to the space station for a year, maybe more, they come back to Earth, they don't, this is the best and the brightest, the right stuff. They have people carry them out of the capsule, put them in the wheelchair, and then they don't walk out of the capsule after being in space so long because the body adapts to it. And some of the astronauts has permanent changes to the body after being in space that long. So space travel is not a good thing, by the way, for human beings, because you've been interacting with the gravity your whole life. But what is it? You don't know. Can you prove gravity exists? Not directly. We do it indirectly. We throw something up and then it comes down. Oh, gravity works. So it's secondary effect. So when you have this, maybe a viral infection, and then you get to the doctor and say, hey doc, I'm feeling really tired, I don't have any energy, And they try to figure out what's wrong with you. They can't. There is no biomarker with this. If you have cancer, for example, oh man, bring the fight. You have MS or Parkinson's, whatever, right? People can, because you recognize that stuff. This illness, you can't find anything wrong with it. So what they developed in some places is secondary protocols to, like gravity, right? You throw something up, it comes back, gravity exists. In this case, some people, they start doing this kind of secondary thing, people standing up, you do cognitive exercises and stuff. And then people can say, well, you're not faking it. So they can prove that something is wrong with you, but they can't diagnose you. That's the problem. And that means that in some places, like in the UK, I said, a lot of people in psychology, for example, they tell you, oh, it's all in your head. No, it's not. I mean, these are people who have like 5, 6, 7 years of education behind them and maybe 10, 15, 20 years in working in the field, and then they tell you that it's all in your head when it's not. It's very funny that way. So everything you take for granted, everything you enjoy doing goes to absolute shit. There's some people, depending on the severity of this stuff, some people can't even stand up. They wake up in the morning and they can't even stand up. Some can maybe go take a shower, but if they take a shower, they can't do anything more for 2 days, which means they won't shower every day, or maybe even not even once. Maybe that old thing back in the, 300, 400 years ago, take a bath every year, comes back in fashion. Yeah, I'm not gonna take a shower until Christmas. Yeah, so depending on your severity, you may have a lot of issues, right? And there is no real help. You just to understand the severity of this is the suicide rate is around 30%. And the reason for that is because your quality of life goes to absolute shit. Some people can't even, spend time with other people around them or in a bright lit room like this one outside. That's a big room, by the way. Most people think, well, I'm going to go outside. You know, big room. People go, I don't think it's a room. Has a lamp, big space, big room. Whereas we like to say in Doctor Who, circuits, it's bigger outside. Most people don't get that. They haven't run that joke in Doctor Who yet. Well, it's smaller inside. Outside is bigger. I mean, it's a whole universe out there, you know. So this illness is a quality of life determinant. It's not good. So you have to, learn to pace yourself, not do too much. You have to, there's some, depending on what happens. For example, in my case, 25 years ago when I got this, I can't go for a run because if I try to jog as slow as I can, it doesn't matter, fast or slow, my acid buildup goes up to the point of after 50 meters or 100 meters, something like that, depending on the day, my body just goes shut down. And I increase my aerobic capacity. You can do that. It takes time, fucking forever. But I tried things like that. I increase my aerobic capacity. I, measure that. Yeah, I'm getting better. Yeah. Try to jog. Doesn't matter. So the exchange in my system with how the body takes care of the acid buildup goes much slower. And there is some people who have a 10x buildup of acid. That means if they do something like this, they have 10 times more acid buildup just doing that. Most people, when they do that, I still feel that, by the way. They don't go, okay, that's not a problem. But for people with this illness, it could be a huge problem, right? Just combing your hair or something like that, and then you get acid buildup. Can't do anything. Right? Yeah, so the illness is pretty much shit, quality of life, because you have an energy issue, cognitive brain fog stuff, and you get what people call in this field crashes, right? That means when you overextend a bit, you can crash for a day or two or something like that. So yeah, it's pretty bad. I can't play golf, for example. I can teach golf because I understand that shit. And so astronauts actually do understand this better, because if you have an astronaut who's been up to the space station a long time, come back and become a doctor, you go to the doctor that is an astronaut and also tell him, and they go, wow, that reminds me of my time in space. And you go, space? Yeah, I'm an astronaut, I become a doctor because it's pretty cool to be a doctor and an astronaut. Yeah, I get it, because you interact with gravity your whole life. But you don't know the difference. Astronauts that have been up there and other people, they know the difference between floating in space and absence of gravity, and that other people don't. I don't. I don't know what's, I understand it, but it doesn't mean the experience itself I don't have, because I haven't been up there in space. Yeah. Maybe one day they figure out it's not going to be a good thing when they're going to send people to Mars, for example. You spend 6 months, a year, whatever it takes to get there. Then you spend probably a year, whatever they have to, and then they have to go back. And then landing on Earth is going to be a fucking mess for the astronaut. Right? Space travel is not easy at all, because we change your body. Right? Anyway. Yesterday we had rain the whole day. I was looking at the forecast, and this day it's going to be a nice, sunny, apparently 20 degrees Celsius, pretty good for us, day. And most people with this, especially me in this case, I don't go outside. I can't go outside and go to the swimming pools or something like that to take a bath or go swimming and such. Just forget it. Anyway, thanks for listening. I just want to bring some awareness of this illness is shit. And when you go to the doctor, they can't find anything wrong with you. They can have secondary effects, protocols, if you're lucky. And your friends and family will think you're lazy.
Hej! Nu är det sol. Det är 2 dagar för sent.
Ja, typ. Det är svensk midsommar.
Ja,
Well, it was midsummer, you know, a couple of days ago and such. And raining here, so. And one of the things that people don't mention, you know, talking to people is exhausting, right? And the reason for that is you have to track conversation, right? Other people do. You have to understand what they're saying and process that. And that takes a lot of energy. Most people don't know that because people normally they don't do. Unless they have been working a whole day, maybe have, you know, been sleeping badly and then you get really, you know, cranky. Then, you know, talking to other people is really a lot of work. But tracking conversations and talking to people for a long time takes a lot of energy. This is why I don't hang out with a lot of people, because it's just the draining of your energy. So yeah, that's one another facet of life. But today is a beautiful day, and I'm not going to be outside more than this. So MCFS, long COVID, whatever they call it, is a viral infection. You get it, your body doesn't recover, and you get, sometimes usually you get permanent changes. Apparently, they can't fix it, they can't cure it, they can't diagnose it even, and just be prepared. If you have some friend or if you yourself you can have a long road of yourself, you know, to get it diagnosed properly, which is really, really hard because they can only diagnose it really with secondary effects, right? And that takes time and a lot of trips to the hospital, by the way. And I had it for 25 years, you know. I mean, it's not getting better. Right? I have weird issues with my body all the time, comes and goes. So, and my take on why why it's so hard to diagnose is that if you have a chain of events, and you're making a car, for example, you know, cars is made in, you know, basically automatic. People are not involved anymore in some places. So you have a, you know, they put things together in the car, put things in together in the car, put things together in the car. Now, if you change one of those things all along the way, the car still is made, the car still works, but it's not the same car anymore. So it's a chain of events in your, you know, cellular structure or something like that produce energy and make changes and all this stuff that is changed, and it's very hard then to measure what that is. And they also may work trying to find, you know, a common, you know, thing that has changed for everybody. And I think that's going to be hard for them to do, because if it was doable, they probably would have found that by now. I mean, they've been researching for decades. It's not something that happened in the last 5 years with COVID. Oh, now they're going to do research. They do research. They've been doing research for decades. They just can't fucking figure out what's going on in a way so you can diagnose this stuff. They can just say, yeah, some of the things here is not operating the way it's supposed to, and it takes a lot of effort and, you know, probably a lot of money also, and you know, probably some people who actually start thinking about outside the box, I guess, to figure out what's going on with it. Sadly, I'm not a researcher and scientist in that field. I have to do it elsewhere. Anyway, I'm exhausted. And all it takes for me today to go outside, talk a little bit, and yeah.